I know, I can't make out a word he's saying. Well, guys, if you're on the net and you're watching us, these are units that are trying to catch up to the pursuit. And I got somebody yelling about peace and love in my ears. You know, I want peace and love too. You know what? So these are officers trying to get to the pursuit. Since we're on the hey, did they must have changed off of something else, because unless, oh, the bike's in front of them. Never mind. And that's what I was waiting to find out. The motorcycle's in front of them. So, yep, there it is. And we had them on the orange, and now we don't. We're trying to get, there we go. Sweet. Sheriff helicopter's over it. If you're joining us, thank goodness. It has been an interesting day. Just passing Alondra right now. Southbound 605 passing Alondra, 100 miles an hour. Motorcycle being chased by California Highway Patrol, being chased by Sky 9. You know, this guy's going about 100 miles an hour. We are probably... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rick. Minute and a half away. Back of the chopper. Oh, that never gets old, huh? We are Cerritos-ish. Well, you're right. That's where Stu is. Southbound 605, and we're passing Cerritos. I got to find this on the scanner because you're going to ask me where we are, and I won't know. He's slowing down quite a bit. And now he's speeding up again. Ten away. Copy all. Thank you. South Street. Well, you know what? Over 100 miles an hour, southbound 605, passing South Street, a motorcycle. So very dangerous situation, especially for that rider. And, of course, the California Highway Patrol having to keep up with him. You can see him there in the HOV lane, moving at very high speeds, blacked out. That means basically he's just got his lights off on that motorcycle. Not going to make any difference. They are right there behind him, and they have their lights and sirens on. And the and the Sheriff's Department is above him, lighting him up. Just passing, still 100 plus is what they're saying. Passing Delamo, you saw the sign right there. I'm listening to them as well. And it seems like he's actually speeding up. If we're passing Delamo, that's going to put us in about the Cerritos area or Lakewood, depending on what side of the freeway you're on. But this is still a very dangerous situation. Motorcycle rider, usually when they're at these high speeds like this, they'll just hand it off to the helicopter. This time, the California Highway Patrol staying behind it and keeping up with it, which in itself is a trick. 100 plus is what our speeds are right now. We've been trying to catch up in Sky 9, and we've been doing it. And I can tell you that we were going about 140 to get here. Right now, we're slowing up a little bit, just getting over it, and we're still at about 130 miles an hour. You know, that's one of the reasons what makes this so dangerous. You know, you got this guy on a bike. A lot of times, these guys will think that they've got it, that they can handle that motorcycle. You know, anything can happen, and that's the deal with these bikes. You know, they basically work on gravity, and you know, the deal is You're going to hit a little bit of dirt on a hard turn, that bike is going down. Somebody's going to change lanes into you, you're going to get hurt. And that's what California Highway Patrol, that's one of the things that they're worried about. That's the reason why they don't like these crazy high speeds for the motorcycles and or any other vehicles. But on these motorcycles, you have to understand, this guy is going to come up on somebody so fast, a driver on the roadway might not even know he's coming up on him. It does look like the headlight is on. It is kind of a weird thing. Maybe this bike is designed maybe to elude officers. The headlights are on, tail lights are off. Maybe it's just a bad bulb. But, right now, though, the California Highway Patrol, they want him to stop. No license plate on this motorcycle either. Makes it all very interesting for the chase in itself. But for officers, it kind of makes you wonder why he's running and what he's running from. Copy. Definitely, Jeff. And that last time when we had that Harley pursuit, I got some people on the social media kind of hitting me up saying, you shouldn't be saying that about those Harleys. I always have huge respect for any motorcycle. That one right there, you have to excuse us. Underneath that overpass, looks like we're going to be going onto the 405 freeway. We're going to keep it in that light, keeping us abreast of where he's at. That bike, though, just from a layman's point of view, I'm not a motorcycle aficionado by any means, but it does look like it has a longer throw on that rear arm for that wheel. So definitely a modified motorcycle, definitely a high-speed bike. They never gave a make or a model. Can tell you probably some sort of Japanese bike, but I can tell you extremely fast. When he hits that throttle, he basically creates a huge distance between the officers and himself, and you can see him now really starting to move out. Southbound 405 freeway will get you across here in just a minute, but at these speeds, you can see how he's moving these other vehicles, moving past all these other vehicles, almost like they're standing still. This bike really keeping that speed up, and that is very dangerous for everybody involved, especially that motorcycle rider. Those officers are getting closer to him, but of course you know that they can't do anything like hit the motorcycle. They're basically trying to keep up, warning the public that something is going on. Those lights and sirens right now, they are basically telling that person, hey, you need to pull over. But also, it looks like we might be getting on a 405 southbound. We're staying on 405 southbound. I thought maybe he was going to be taking an off-ramp there. But, this bike, look at that. He opens that up, he turns that throttle, and look at the distance that is created between those officers and him. I was just taking a look because I wanted to get an idea of exactly what city we're in right now. But I can also tell you that the helicopter Sky 9 this evening, we are going about 110 miles an hour and basically tracking. So this guy's going about 110, maybe 120. Those CHP units, they're tracking this guy, so they're doing those same speeds. Dangerous for those officers, dangerous for the guy on that motorcycle, and we're getting very close to the Westminster area right now, but this pursuit continues on. California Highway Patrol, they are on the ground in Westminster, excuse me, if it made it sound like we're passing Westminster. We're in Westminster now, and in the air, I understand it that they're switching out helicopters. California Highway Patrol helicopter is going to be up there as well right now. But this pursuit continues on extremely high speeds, and you talked about in the past, we've seen these come to an end with these guys getting away. Don't be fooled. They might lose them for the time being, but they usually, in the end, will get their guy. In this case, though, they don't have a license plate. That might be one of the reasons why they're staying right there behind him, because they don't have any information on that motorcycle or who this person is. And it also is very unusual. We haven't seen any brake lights. Don't know if he's been using them, but he definitely doesn't have a rear tail light on this motorcycle. Makes you kind of wonder, maybe there's something else going on as this bike continues to try to elude California Highway Patrol at speeds of, right now, 115 miles an hour, southbound 405 in Westminster. Whoops, sorry. Fountain Valley, Fountain Valley, Fountain Valley. Fountain Valley is where we are already. We're already in the Fountain Valley area. This guy is moving at Sky 9 speeds. We are just really kind of just clicking them off one by one by one. We're crossing Warner right now, southbound 405 freeway. California Highway Patrol right there behind him. A lot of times we'll see, these motorcycle chases will end so quickly, and you see him turning around, looking behind him every now and then. Dangerous in itself. Keeping his eyes off the front, off of what's coming up ahead of him, wondering where those officers are. A lot of times they will back down because of those high speeds, because it is a motorcycle. And, maybe that's one of the things. Maybe he's been in this situation before and the officers have backed off. This time, not backing off. They have a helicopter overhead. That's the California Highway Patrol helicopter overhead providing that light. And now we're passing Brookhurst, so you can get an idea how quickly this guy is moving along here on the freeway. Those officers from the California Highway Patrol, we haven't even heard these guys do their switch out. A lot of times when we get through into different areas, the California Highway Patrol will move their vehicles out they patrol areas, much like any LAPD or any law enforcement. But sometimes they'll swap out those vehicles, but that lead one, that lead SUV, I believe that's the same one from when this started, all the way up in the Whittier area. That's where it came up, or where it started from. So there we go. We were talking about how they haven't switched it out. There they are. They're switching it out right now. Now that basically just means that we're in a different jurisdiction, and that California Highway Patrol vehicle is just going to take the lead. Right now we're passing Ellis, but it gives you an idea how fast this is. And take a look. When we're just going along out here, I'm kind of keeping this wider shot. Those guys probably doing, let's face it, it's California, probably doing about 70, 75 miles an hour. Look how quickly he just blows by everybody. Luckily, we haven't seen any unusual lane changes. Luckily, we haven't seen anybody get panicked or slow down. And as for traffic, well, I'm looking out through out the front windscreen right now, and I can tell you, it is clear. It's about like this, so it's clear sailing for this bike as far as I can see for the time being. Harbor. We have. We actually have. In the past, we'll see the motorcycles get up behind them, and that is because they are more agile and they can keep up with those higher speeds. But we've never seen them just by themselves. Right now he's slowing down, getting into the 80s right now. 85 miles an hour was just the official from one of the units down there on the ground. As we continue now, southbound 405, I'm looking out the window. I see John Wayne Airport coming up ahead of us. So it gives you an idea we're going to be in the Anaheim area. But this just continues on, and we just follow along. And, it started up in Whittier. We always play that game like, where's he going? What's he doing? Where does he live? You really got to wonder, this guy is getting farther and farther away, or is he getting closer and closer to where he lives? At any rate, California Highway Patrol, they're going to be right there with him when this comes to an end. Hopefully, we'll call it one of those non-dramatic endings. And the only reason I say that is because I never want to see anybody get hurt, even the suspects. But right now we're crossing the 55, as I understand it. But we're staying on the 55, and we're staying on the 405 south. Whoops. Jamboree. Irvine. Oh, we just launched. We probably got at least 90 minutes, at least. Well, we can only wonder what this guy has done to that motorcycle, and we can only hope that he's able to handle whatever has been done to this motorcycle. Right now, though, California Highway Patrol, they're moving their units around. They're still behind it. You're right, though. There is very little that they can do to bring this to a stop or a forceful ending. There's no way they're going to be able to do a pit maneuver. There's no way they're going to try to block this guy in because they're, again, law enforcement, they are concerned about safety, and they don't want any kind of injuries to happen to even the suspects in these situations. Original want for this, probably going to be speed, might be the fact that there's no plate, might be the fact that there's no rear tail light. That headlight is on, but we've never seen any kind of brake light. Doing a little bit of a maneuvering right there, kind of moving around, but it's established in the Irvine area right now. Still those high speeds. The slowest we saw was about 85, and those numbers came from the California Highway Patrol. Well, Susie, a bike like that, he's pretty much running that thing full throttle, so, I can't even guess what the mileage would be. Smaller tank, but it's a smaller engine. It carries a lot less weight, so they get about the same type of gas mileage. I was kind of thinking the same thing, though, as well. Those bikes like that, those sport bikes, they usually don't fill them to the top. But again, who knows? This guy might have had it completely filled up, and he might have been on planning a long trip or a long ride. At any rate, it continues on out here, high speeds. Every time that bike makes those little wobbly moves where he's going right there, he's actually in the emergency lane, as I understand it. Whoa, hitting the brakes there, hitting the brakes, and that's those kind of things right there. You just got to wonder what is going on with this guy, and you just panic. Yeah, like the blood just ran out of my fingers running the camera when he did that. Don't know if that was for trying to tell those officers to back off or if he actually saw something, but look how quickly something can go wrong. Definitely coming up on the 133 now, so might be leaving the Irvine area, and we're continuing southbound. But El Toro is the next off-ramp that we'll be passing if we haven't already. Again, this motorcycle moving so quickly this evening. California Highway Patrol right behind it. They just want this guy to pull over. Obviously, watching this at these high speeds with all these other cars on the freeway, everybody's probably worried that somebody's going to get hurt. And if that bike makes contact with something, chances are it's going to be the rider of that motorcycle. Nobody wants to see that. California Highway Patrol doing what they can to keep everybody involved in this pursuit safe. And all they can do right now, lights and sirens, and stay behind them. Know why? Five south. We're 5, yep, just past the Y. El Toro, Mission Viejo. Thank you. Alicia. Right now, I can tell you, southbound 5 freeway, he keeps doing this like little gesture on the bike where he's kind of like trying to, maybe he's getting a little uncomfortable but sitting in that position for so long. Maybe his back's getting cold. I don't know if he's got to know that his shirt's riding up like that. Embarrassing moments, but hopefully that's the only thing that he's going to have to worry about. Well, that and being arrested when this comes to an end. Right now, though, we're southbound 5 freeway, well established in the Mission Viejo area. We're passing La Paz, passing La Paz. So, and I can tell you that looking ahead, I saw a lot of taillights, and we're starting to see that what's happening out here in those taillights. He's starting to weave in and out through this kind of little patch of traffic, and he's doing that little jumpy thing again in there, probably just trying to reposition himself, maybe getting a little tired of basically just going 130 miles an hour on the freeways this evening. Now the traffic, though, even though there's traffic out here, the California Highway Patrol lights and sirens, and they have that helicopter over above. If he uses the traffic to his advantage, which he might, we saw him earlier on kind of lead him into like a pack of traffic and then really open that throttle up. If he's thinking that that's going to create the distance that he needs, it's not. And if he thinks that California Highway Patrol is just going to throw their hands up, it's probably not. Right now, though, I see more traffic up ahead, but it's kind of more of the same. But they're going to stay there with him, right behind him, and the helicopter is definitely above. Original want, we're bouncing around with that. We heard earlier on was speed, started in Whittier on the 605. That's where we heard it originally. Southbound 605, maybe the El Monte area. The El Monte area is where it started on the 605. We picked it up in the Whittier area. But this continues on up here, high speeds. We saw that one moment where he did really tap those brakes. It was a little hair raising. No vehicles in front of him, so I was wondering maybe he was doing that to get the California Highway Patrol to back off. The vehicles might, but that helicopter is going to stay above and keep lighting them up, calling out those streets. And I'm getting a heads up from my pilot that if this gets too much farther down, we're talking like San Onofre, I think. We are gonna start getting into some weather, but the officers on the ground will continue on. Hopefully this guy will just come to his senses, pull over, but we haven't seen anything that indicates that this guy might even have any senses. Great. Passed it. Whoops, sorry. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry about that. I've been kind of juggling some radios up here and getting some locations and just trying to gather more information about what's going to happen, how we're going to handle it if we get into weather, which we might. This guy just keeps on moving along out here. Southbound 405, we're going to be getting into, southbound 5 freeway, getting into the San Juan Capistrano area. I know there's some construction coming up on the 405. Excuse me, I keep saying that. On the 5 freeway, we do know that they're going to be coming down to a couple of lanes. Don't know if it's before the fog or after the fog. But right now, I can tell you that this guy's still moving along. Haven't seen any signs of the bike slowing down at all. And you know what? He has. Technically, he has. He's gone from about 130, sometimes down to 85. So, but in most part, he's been right around the 100 mile an hour. So 3 numbers, huge speeds. Luckily, nobody's been hurt so far, and this bike continues on. California Highway Patrol, they got the helicopter overhead, and then of course they've got the cars behind them. I'm going to go a little bit wider here. I don't think we're going to lose this guy, but even though there's that traffic, you can see that the closest unit from the California Highway Patrol still so close behind, and this is going to continue on until that bike comes to a stop. Hopefully it's going to come to a stop with the rider just saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to pull over, I ran out of gas, or something along those lines. Other than that, it's just going to continue on out here. Southbound 5 freeway, I can tell you we are definitely in the San Juan Capistrano area now. California Highway Patrol keeping up as this motorcycle keeps up those high speeds. Right now, traffic's starting to thin out again, but he has not really been opening up that throttle. Makes you kind of wonder, maybe he's starting to think, hopefully he's starting to think, yeah, you just pull over. Correct. No. Right through him. He did. He did. Passing beach cities. Well, we just passed Beach Cities off the 5 freeway. We made that turn, so we're going to be in the Dana Point area, as I understand it. Sorry, Capistrano Beach. Yes, Capistrano Beach. Sorry about that. I saw him taking some more chances that we hadn't seen in the past. You went right between those two vehicles. I heard Susie gasp there earlier on. I did too, trust me, when he did that little maneuver going between those two cars. Right now, though, don't know if he's getting more desperate. Don't know if maybe he's starting to run out of gas. Gosh only knows. That bike, though, really standing up to these type of speeds. It continues on out here. We haven't seen any kind of mechanical issues or the bike trying to, him maybe slowing it down, trying to let it cool down, anything like that. It just continues on out here. Not crazy hot or outside tonight. The cooler weather might be a good factor, but a lot of these bikes are water cooled. So, it's not going to deal with the temperatures outside. The California Highway Patrol, you know what? Their cars, solid. They get maintenance regularly, and they are newer vehicles. And you can actually see, the lights right there from the California Highway Patrol just kind of bouncing around in the background. And that means this guy knows these guys are right there. He knows that they're still following him. The lights from the helicopter, that's what you're seeing. That's not us. That's going to be California Highway Patrol. And it continues on as we're making our way down heading towards San Onofre. Not sure how long Sky 9 can follow along. There's going to be some restricted areas out there. Camp Pendleton's coming up. And then, of course, there's also, we know that there's some weather. So I hate to wave goodbye to this, but we are getting close to that point, but we're going to follow it till we can't follow it anymore. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to work with John, but I got, we're going over it. We're going to try to go up, but we got clouds. We're going to stay with it as long as we can. We're going to go over the restricted. We'll let you know when we get to San Onofre. I'll let you know when we have to pull the plug. All right. Yep. Well, Susie, you know, just to mention, go with what Jeff was talking about. This guy's got shorts on or some sort of cutoff, so you know, obviously, you know, he might be accomplished, and I'm using those terms very, very lightly. I never want to give these guys too much credit, but he definitely does not have like the gear that you see some of these guys wearing. A lot of times they'll have that basically road armor, those thick leathers for the pants, those thick jackets with the protection for their backs. This guy, he's got basically a hoodie and some shorts and that helmet, and he's continuing to weave in and out of traffic out here as it's getting a little bit darker. And I can tell you, we're getting very close to San Onofre. We were making plans to maybe get up over that restricted airspace, but even if we get over it, we have clouds up ahead. So Sky 9 is we're gonna stay with it. I mean, if we have to stop and just kind of watch it go off into the sunset. I was kind of excited. I haven't been to San Diego in quite some time. But at any rate, we're just watching this guy riding along out here. We're definitely coming up right on the San Onofre area. According to the map, we're at San Onofre right now. So he's basically just moving along out here on the 5 freeway. And the helicopter, the CHP helicopter, is going to have to back off as well. So it's not just us basically pulling the plug. They're going to have to do the same. And then the ground units, take a look. They're starting to fall back as well. So this guy, he might have got lucky this time. Yeah, we're losing him in the clouds. Yep. Yep. That's it. All right. And that's it. You know, the ground units, there they are. Those are the last ones right there. They're going to stay with it. And just so you guys know, basically what we're looking at, that's cloud cover. You can see that, you can kind of make it out. I don't know about other people, it's a full moon tonight, but that's all cloud cover right there in the shot. I know it looks like darkness on darkness, and that's what my pilot John is dealing with as well up here tonight, but that's the cloud cover right there, and it's covered that entire area, and it's unsafe to fly over it in Sky 9, so this is where we say goodnight to that motorcycle rider. I was really hopeful to go to San Diego, but it's just one of those things where it's just past San Onofre, and that's the end of that. Caramba, yeah, yeah, clear.